And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Signal Caller. Here we will take the Raiders on their journey to find their new quarterback because we all know we're not rolling with AOC, and if we do, that's going to be a huge problem. And Antonio Pierce will not have a job very very long with the Raiders. So as far as that goes, my co-host is Solo Lopez. We're going to talk about this episode here. And the first episode, and then this is like what's it? What the first episode this was, but we did four
Four?
quarterback. It's a fourth quarterback we've done. We done Cam Ward. He went back to school. We did Bo Nix. We did Michael Penix, and now we're gonna do JJ McCarthy.
Trouble. Gets away. On the run. Touchdown. Roman Wilson does it again. His 10th of the season.
Roman Wilson is going to run a post, but then he sees his quarterback move. Now they're late getting there.
Let's see if McCarthy can find him. Lupson, sideline. Edwards with a step. He's got it. Out of bounds at the 39-yard gain.
McCarthy doubles out of the pocket and launches. End zone, Wilson! That had a vapor trail on it.
Loveland down the field. So he points Loveland down the field right now, and he's basically...
So first, we're gonna do some background on McCarthy, some thoughts, strength and weaknesses, and then we're gonna talk about his draft positioning as far as we think he's gonna go. 6'3", 202 pounds, from La Grain Park, Illinois. Quarterback, obviously, because this is Signal Caller, and he runs a 4.6 40. So as far as that goes, so let's just talk about our initial thoughts, your initial thoughts of JJ McCarthy before we go into everything else.
So initially, I think he has good body, good size for the NFL position. But honestly, if I'm being like 100% honest, for my evaluation from everything that I've seen, I think that he's made a great college quarterback. I think he's made a good on the starting position that he's had. I thought he's been dynamic for college, but in reality, I just don't think that this is the guy that is going to be able to lead a franchise at the next level. I do not feel that his skills are going to translate to the next level. I think that he was asked to do very little as the quarterback at Michigan. I think some of that matters. Some of it doesn't matter in terms of when you have to step up and make a play, you can, and he did in certain capacities. And I respect that and I applaud that. I just don't think that he's going to be a guy that is going to walk into a first-round team in a situation where a first-round team might want to take a quarterback and turn them around or be the guy that's going to lead them into the playoffs, the division title, playoff wins, etc. What you want to take a first-round quarterback for, in my opinion. I think he's an intelligent player. I think he's actually I like his unique personality. I think his personality meshes well with teammates, but I just don't feel like his skills are there or elevated enough to be able to run a franchise. I just don't see it. I think what Joel Klatt mentioned something very specific where he saw it in the comparison between Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy, where he says that offense expects Michael Penix to make 25 NFL throws a game, whereas if you look at the JJ McCarthy tape, that offense expects him to make maybe 5 or 6 NFL throws a game to be successful. And I agree with that. I think that the more you look at the tape, the more you show that he's not asked to shoulder all the burden and all the carry. And I think that's what's going to be essential at the next level.
All right. So my initial thoughts was is that he's going to get drafted really, really high in my evaluation, because when I look at the people, if you want a guy who you can mold out of clay and maybe get him to that next level as a passer, this would be a guy who you might want to look at. He has the size, he has the arm strength is definitely 100% there. He has a lot of different, as far as his frame, his ability to get out of the pocket and throw on the run with accuracy and with ridiculous velocity. Those things you can't teach. And I think a head coach will go ahead and and a head coach or organization will go ahead and side with that, opposed to just saying he's going to throw him in right now. I think if you have to throw him in right now, that's probably not the best thing for JJ McCarthy. I think he's the youngest quarterback of the guys getting drafted. I think that he's a guy who is, if you could have a situation where you had a veteran and he could sit for a year, that would be the best situation, and maybe pull a Patrick Mahomes, maybe play later in the season when the games don't really matter, just get his feet wet. But when you have the body type, when you have the all the things they look for in a quarterback, the size, the arm strength, the mobility, there's no way he's not going to go high in the draft.
Do you think that's based off of just his ability on your own perspective, or do you think that's based off what you think general managers are going to look at and NFL teams are going to look at?
I think both. I think like I said, he can move. And like that part of it is huge. You got to be able to move in the National Football League nowadays. I do think his ability to throw on the run is something that's really nice. And then, like I said, like you said it before, yes, he wasn't asked to do. It was like a one read stuff, throw the ball to tight end over the middle of the field. All those things like that. I'm going to do a special for members only. Do a special full game breakdown of JJ McCarthy, so we can kind of see everything. You can see all the throws and everything like that. You saw a little bit in the beginning already, but that's why I think he's going to end up going early. I don't want to say early. I mean anywhere between 10 and 25. But I do think people are not gonna, if you're like Minnesota and you're bringing back Kirk Cousins, this is kind of the perfect kind of way to segue him into being the starter for the team. So let's just talk about the strengths of Michael. I want to say Michael Penix. I don't know why. JJ McCarthy. He's like, I can't say Michael Penix because somebody texted me about Michael Penix today. Arm strength is there, and so we're going strengths right now with Michael with JJ McCarthy. The arm strength is there. He has the ability to he also protects the ball, doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He showed up against Ohio State when he had to in those moments. A lot of times they had the better team, but he still got to show up in those moments. Play action was a plus for him. He played in a run heavy system, so that's something you got to take into account as far as that goes. He has the ability to extend plays, and he has that size, that nice size that a lot of where you're not, Caleb Williams. People say a lot of things about Caleb Williams that aren't true, and they'll tell you and me that I don't like Caleb Williams, and they won't tell you the one thing that could stop him from being a really good quarterback is the height. You know what I mean? Like that's the one. I'm so waiting for people just say his nails. He cried in his mother's arms. Had everything that had nothing to do with football, but this actually has something to do with football. And for him, having that, being able to stand tall in the pocket is a really is a really good thing, and his ability to to be able to see everything clearly down the field as far as that goes. Any other positives you see from him? I know you have different viewpoints on the prospect, but I just want to see where you are as far as the positives.
I really like him. I think he's really underrated in terms of his athleticism. I think his athleticism is very underrated. And I think that's a guy that you could run a lot of QB power, QB sneak, QB fake, a lot of that out. I think that if his in the red zone, he's going to be a very good quarterback. I think that you could put that as a strength. I think that he's a player that you can mold into someone that doesn't make a lot of mistakes in the red zone, that you can run the ball a lot with, that you can use a lot of play action with in the red zone. I think that if his processing power elevates to another level, then he could be something in that regard. But yeah, in terms of positives, I really like his athleticism. I like his football perspectives. I think he has a high football IQ. But football IQ versus processing power are two different things. But I think he's clever in the system, and I don't think Harbaugh would trust him, any player, to just go in there unless he felt like he was going to be able to win with this guy extensively, and he has.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear like I'm not gonna give you the Jimmy G thing. He's a winner. He only lost like one game. Was there like I mean no
Sure.
the guy is he ran that offense very well. They try to make it as simplistic as possible because they had a dominant defense and they had a really good running game. So they looked for him. They looked to him for that occasional big play, and I think he was able to provide that throughout his career at Michigan. So as far as his weaknesses go, I mean, I think you remember number one thing for me is, can he process at an NFL level year one?
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think the answer. I think the jury's still out on that. I think once he got away from having to, the first guy wasn't open. That's when he started running, and he started running when he didn't even need to run. Where the second read was open. What are your thoughts about his read progression? Because I don't think he read the field great when he had to go to a second and third.
Yeah, I don't feel like he processes quickly enough for the next level. I think that's going to be a massive issue. I think especially coming out, we saw a few plays where coming off play action specifically when that first read isn't there, he doesn't really like to go through his progression off that, and a safety blanket is going to be almost an absolute necessity in that regard. Whether if that's teaching him how to check down consistently or teaching or always having a safety blanket with the tight end out there. I think processing power in terms of going through your read progression is going to be imperative for him, evolving that if he's ever going to have a sustainable NFL career. I think that's one of the massive things that now a player like that doesn't quite have that can rely on his athleticism to create lanes and to be able to move in the pocket and to be able to move and take off with his legs. So he's going to have some latitude to be able to make those mistakes. Processing wise while he evolves at the next level because of the fact that he'll be able to run and break lanes and hurt the defense with his legs. But in terms of that, if that becomes an issue at the next level consistently, he's not going to be long, even as a backup in that regard, in my opinion.
And also think you talk about the route tree. The route tree is very important for him to be able to, for a quarterback to be able to throw all of the route tree. I don't think, like I said, he has to get. They throw, and part of it is Harbaugh's offense too. They throw the ball a lot over the middle. Once the defenses in the National Football League go middle field close, then and force him to throw the ball on the outside the numbers, then we're talking about what exactly can he do in that situation. Let's see here. One of the things I wrote down too was like not ready for the complex defenses in National Football League. I'm not sure how hard they practice against each other, because I know that Michigan runs the defense that Michigan and the Ravens run the defense that everybody in the National Football League wants to run now, the Ravens defense. But how, as far as like that goes, how did that work in practice versus J.J. McCarthy? Because I feel like once teams did a little bit of that, he turned the ball over, and you saw that in last year's playoff game against TCU.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to look at as well is when you're translating, like when you're making that, is the workouts in between now and the draft. I think that's going to be essential to show that if he can do that, because I don't think there's enough tape. And he threw the ball, a moderate amount of times, but like when you're talking about the route tree, one thing I looked at over this last week's games. Or the first round of playoff games, in the cold weather games, when you look at a guy like Tua who couldn't get any velocity on the ball whatsoever, and then you look at a guy like Mahomes and Allen, and those are obviously the one side of the spectrum in that regard. But even a Jordan Love or someone like that, you can see the velocity that these guys have on the ball when they have to make those throws. When even like Jordan Love is resetting his entire body and he's launching the ball at 40, 45, 50 yards to the end zone when he's rolling to his right and then resets his feet. Like, those are the throws that you have to make at the next level in order to be successful. And so he's going to have to show that that he can make all those throws and all those route trees down the field, intermediate range, not just in the middle where they did a lot of play action. That was the majority of their routes were in play action, but making those high velocity throws to the sideline when the game plan is not working, and to make the off script throws that you're going to need at the next level. He's got to be a dynamic quarterback at the next level. I just don't think it works any other way.
He has played 40 games in his collegiate career. Do you want to guess how many times he threw the ball? 30 times in a game?
Oh, 30 times.
Yeah.
I would say just twice is my guess.
6.
Six
So,
times.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm not. I mean, I didn't punch in Michael Penix right now, but I could punch in Michael Penix right now and check. But I can imagine that him and Bo Nix definitely probably threw the ball more than threw the ball 30 times in
Yeah.
a game, more than 6 times in their career. Because I'm trying to match up because they played probably as many games as JJ McCarthy did as well. Pre snap pre snap stuff like that. I mean, that's something where I've seen a lot of some of his hot routes are just been like kind of just off. I mean, and his footwork is not the best getting back, but footwork can be improved with quarterback coaching and NFL and NFL stuff there. So as far as that goes, let's see here. What else did I have? Anything else as far as that goes? But he also throws a what I like to call a pickable ball at times. Like some of those balls where like NFL corners might be able to snag those where collegiates don't do that. So
a breaking route is where I see a lot of his issues, where he's got a breaking in route on his receiver. It's not necessarily thrown in stride or on the money, but he has big body receivers that almost help him get away from that. But that's not going to be the case at the next level.
And it's also in the highlight reel. There is that we play. Before you and I start the show and kind of dive into them. There is a play where clearly the running back has running a like a wheel route or a 9 route up the sideline. He's open, and that ball just drifts out of bounds. He's able to keep the ball, catch the ball, and then drift out of bounds. Where that ball is thrown to the inside, it's an easy touchdown. I'm knowing Michigan, they probably scored on the next play with like a Blake Corum run, but as far as that goes, I do want to add one more strength to it. And you mentioned the red zone. I think the one thing that the Buffalo Bills are missing, and I see, and this is the reason why I love what Todd Monken's doing with Lamar Jackson, is that they'll go under center and he will fake and then do a bootleg, and then you got pulling guards in front of him, all those things like that. Like those are things that Josh Allen could do. Like that's the reason why I think they're kind of struggling to kind of get over the hump, because they're not thinking outside the box offensively. Other than Buffalo, but I think with him, with his athleticism, he can do things like that too. I think when people think mobile quarterback, they automatically think shotgun. But a lot of times it really is just your ability to, you can do a lot from being under center and do some really creative run pass option things as well there too. So that's another thing we can do as far as looking at what JJ McCarthy can become as an NFL prospect here. But I just feel like, as far as me, like as far as him being kind of thin, so is Jaden Daniels kind of thin as well. But I think obviously NFL weight room, that's going to change. I do feel like NFL scouts are not going to let his physical intangibles, and I'm desperately trying to go to the combine this year, so hopefully I get credentials for that. He is not. They're not going to be 25 teams that just pass on that. I would be shocked if he got to the 20s.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, look at the last couple of years. There's been a influx of smaller quarterbacks. It feels like almost quarterbacks have gotten much smaller versus guys that have come out 10, 15 years ago. I mean, look at the last number one overall pick. Kyler Murray's the number one overall pick. Bryce Young is the number one overall pick. These guys are not big quarterbacks. They're actually very small quarterbacks in relative to the size that we've seen a lot of these guys come out of, the 6'5" frame, the Joe Burrow, the Peyton Manning frame, the Justin Herbert. Like, these are big players that you've seen, like the prototypical. So a lot of NFL teams have softened their stance on that type of situation with the quarterback position. At least Bryce Young is very slight, is very small.
Yeah, I would say this. Some spots where I can see them, see him going would be Atlanta would be a spot where he might go. Last report we had was Vrabel was at Arthur Blank's house, so maybe a deal gets done soon there. By the time this airs, maybe he's the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. If Chicago ever passed on the first pick in the draft, maybe they go there. Minnesota is going to be a prime candidate. You got Denver, a candidate. I mean, you got 3 teams in a row: Denver, Las Vegas, and New Orleans. So you got some players there. Seattle, another one. Like at some point the Rams should draft a quarterback. Do they go there? So we'll see. Like I think there's some cool quarterback needy teams there. So I do believe that he will definitely get drafted before Green Bay at 25. So
so you think first round for sure?
I think first round for sure, because a player with his physical ability is not going to go to the combine and do shitty.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, especially when they see him run those throws on the throws on the move, all those things like that. You get somebody who's running a Shanahan offense who might just say, damn, let me get this, let me get this dude, especially if you're Seattle and you still got Geno for a year, that could work out depending on who the head coach is and depending on what scheme it is now, because Shane Waldron went to Chicago. So that should be
sure.
That should be so.
Or the Saints,
or the Saints, or maybe the Raiders. Who knows? Let's run into where I like to do this. Where should he go in our mind, and then where do you think he'll go? So I think where he should probably go is let me write it down so we have that for every week. I think for sure where he should go is probably a second round, to be fair. I think there's enough there where he should go in the second round. With that being said, I think that he will go anywhere between, I would say, maybe 8 and 24. Because I don't think anybody or 22. Because I don't see. I can see one of these teams that may be trying to trade up or something like that. But I do feel like, I mean, you gotta take a flyer on a guy with that kind of athletic ability. If you're say if you got down to 26 at Tampa, you signed a 2-year deal with Baker Mayfield. That's a great opportunity for him to sit and learn, and then turn it over to him and have a situation maybe like they have in Green Bay where Jordan Love took over.
So where I think he should go, I don't think he should be anywhere near the starting spot anytime soon, in my opinion. I think that if you're going to take a flyer on someone like him and try to develop into something, I would not take him. I would give him the Hendon Hooker route. Where I would draft him to a team with an established quarterback, an established system, a team in an offensive system that's good for him to learn and good for him to learn under. And I think he should go in the third round or the last half of the third round. It's not somebody I would want to create a quarterback controversy with. It would be someone that I'm like, this is a luxury pick for us. We always want to take a quarterback type situation to see what we got out of him. And in the worst case scenario that we have to play him, we know that he's got the ability and that we're training him to be able to take that and that situation. Now, where I think he will go is I think we're looking at the second wave of the teams that need quarterback that are going to pass on. Not everybody's going to take a quarterback. And unfortunately, the Raiders fall into that category where we don't know yet. But like Minnesota, the Patriots, maybe if they don't take a quarterback, someone like that has another pick coming up in the first 15 to 17 picks in the second round, that's where I think he's going to go. Yeah. I think he's going to go to a team that has someone that they might be trying to transition out of, like the Saints or the Vikings. Or someone that already has an established quarterback, like you mentioned, Tampa Bay. That's a good one. Like in terms of like who they might be. He's another guy that also it would be a wild card for Denver. Because what if Denver just wants a veteran quarterback versus going with a rookie in that regard? Sean Payton decides he's going to try to bring in a free agent quarterback like he did with Drew Brees. Obviously, they're not going to get Drew Brees on the free agent market. Just an example. And then take a young guy that he can develop in the behind the scenes and maybe bring him along in his own system if that situation. That would be probably the ideal fit for someone like JJ McCarthy, where they sign a guy because they're not going to bring Russ back. Yep. And then they draft him in the second or back half of the second round, and they use that, their top pick on something else that might help them in that regard. So that's where I think he will go. Probably the first 15 picks or so in the second round, but I would not take him in the second round. I would question myself taking him in the third round if I'm being completely honest. I just don't see his skills translating immediately, and I don't think he should be a starter in the next 2 years minimum.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Signal Caller, episode 4. I forgot what episode it was. It's getting volume 4, episode 4, part 4. How you want to do it? I see you got the Star Wars on, so we gotta go episode 1, episode 2, all that stuff like that. So you know how that goes. We're gonna leave the show real quick.
New hope for the Raiders. Hope for the Raiders.
Yeah, I hope so. We're gonna go 5 minutes here. We're gonna go 5 minutes. I'm gonna try to put a timer on the screen when we do this, but 5 minutes here on I'm gonna start the clock in a second. 5 minutes on the Los Angeles Chargers getting Jim Harbaugh as their head coach, and go.
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
All right. So I am of the thinking that I wanted the Raiders, worst case scenario, if it was going to be AP, that was going to be good. But I was not of the mindset that we should not have, under any circumstances, handed him the job without looking at anybody else, including Jim Harbaugh. So I feel like them getting Harbaugh is almost like a snake bite to the Raiders, considering we got their sloppy seconds and general manager. But I think the ideal just for the Chargers to get a coach like that, he's clearly the best coach that they've had since Marty Schottenheimer, maybe. Would probably be they had Norv Turner for a while. They had Anthony Lynn. They had Brandon Staley. So I don't think any of those guys are as good as Harbaugh. I think this completely changes the Justin Herbert outlook. I think this completely changes their defensive outlook. They have all the pieces that fit the personnel wise of if he brings Jesse Minter over, or if he hires Vic Fangio, who is now available just today, to come over and run that defensive system for him. So that team has the personnel fit. They have the offensive line pieces that they've been drafting. They have the quarterback, obviously, and I think it's a perfect fit for Harbaugh to inherit. There's so much similarities between the team that he's going to in Los Angeles, the team that he took to the Super Bowl in San Francisco, and he's bringing over what many people believe is a quality general manager from the Giants in that regard. And I just think that it's not good news for the Raiders and Raider fans. I know a lot of people are hyped with AP and Telesco, and I get it, but now we're looking at a situation where you have all three coaches of the division rival are all significantly better on paper in terms of that. And we don't know what AP is going to be like in the future. He could be a Hall of Fame coach himself. But as of right now, I feel like the Raiders are at a disadvantage with their pairing versus who is at the other three teams.
All right. So we got 3 minutes and 1 second left. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up here with the Jim Harbaugh move. Obviously, you pair Jim Harbaugh with Justin Herbert. That is obviously going to be something that people are talking about. You can say what you want. You can talk about he's a guy, jolly good fellow. You talk about all the things that don't have anything to do with football. He is actually he's winning like 70% of his games. 680% of his 680% of his games. So the guy is a winner. So we can't play the game and act like he's not a good football coach and he's not respected by his team and all the things like that. Also, he's never had a great quarterback, period, with the exception of Andrew Luck at Stanford, right? So this is another opportunity. There's another thing where, like, hey, he doesn't really have – he hasn't had a great quarterback, but he still won. Now he has a guy who has potential to be a great quarterback, and you can see, can't you see Brock Bowers being that pick at 5 to kind of, to kind of be that Vernon Davis, if you will. It looks like he has his connection with the with the Ravens again. I think Joe Horwitz, who is the director of college scouting forever for the Ravens, is going to be the GM. So it won't be the guy from the Giants. It won't be Ed Dodds.
Oh,
so
interesting. Okay.
So he paired with somebody. Like that. That'd be interesting to see. I think the Raiders play the Ravens next year. So it'll be interesting to see if the Chargers play the Ravens. But
They do. Yeah, that's already on the schedule.
It's already on the schedule. So end of the day, it's something where something you have to be. You can't really concern yourself with it because you play them twice. You got a bunch of games after that. So the Raiders have to take care of their stuff first. But it's not going to be an easy thing trying to make the playoffs in the AFC, where the Chargers are going to be. They're not going to be 5-12 next year. I can't predict what the record is going to be next year because you got to see what they do with all those different pieces. But I don't think they're going to be in last place. Be 1-5 in the division. The division is going to be if the Broncos get on the board, the division is going to be lit. I mean, it's going to be a hard division.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hard division, no question about it.
The only team that's built similarly to the San Francisco 49ers in the AFC is the Ravens, which is interesting. And if the Chargers become another instance like that, where they're the AFC version of a 49ers team, where they're built inside out, they have good trenches, they have a good quarterback, they have good playmakers, they have a good front seven, a pressure front seven that they'll have. It like, as a fan, it sucks. I'll just say that. As a fan of the Raiders for so long, it's not a friendly thought to think that could be that's a possibility, because you can't tell me that it's not a possibility that he builds a really good team in Los Angeles, aside from in fact entirely that you still have Patrick Mahomes in the division.
No question about it. And that is the 5 minutes. Well, that's 5 minutes. Perfect. Hey, let's go, Ray Nation. They just announced Tom Telesco today. They had a press conference with AP. So the news is coming in. Obviously, the OC will be huge. Huge news as well. So enjoy the signal caller. Get to know a little bit of JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy, not Michael Penix. JJ McCarthy, but you can watch Michael Penix if you want. So
Penix at 13.
Penix at 13 could be a possibility. So
Penix at 13.
We'll see. All right, Ray Nation, take care. And all NFL fans, hope you enjoyed this. And then go ahead and just continue to like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Take care.